Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Rod Him.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Ryan.
And this is Quick Study Weekend Edition. It is great to have you here as we study and go through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. We're putting together studies to find out what it says today. Corey, what's up?
Today we're going to be taking a look not only at a place, but also a person that the prophet Isaiah mentions here in the book of Isaiah.
All right, very good. There we go with the persons again. You're doing the person thing a lot. Very good. And Ryan, you're studying today. What did you study?
Well, today I'm looking at dolphins and bats. And are these two species actually related? Evolutionists aren't quite sure anymore.
Dolphins and bats? Dolphins don't have wings, do they?
We're going to find out.
Anyway, that's very interesting. Okay, we'll talk about that. And then later on as well, I have some interesting things to talk about. The Earth's people will bear the consequence. And you say, what consequence are we talking about? Well, actually, we're talking about a lot. Some of it has to do with global climate change. And we'll talk about that and more when we come up. Right now, let's get ready and study because the Bible Guide and the Bible have the details.
As a prophet of God, Isaiah had access to the courts of the king, and he often spoke to individuals in that court, but it wasn't always good things that he needed to say. Isaiah chapter 22 is an example where Isaiah speaks to Shebna. In Isaiah chapter 22, Isaiah prophesied against Shebna, who held the position of steward in charge of the house. Shebna was in trouble because of his pride. Apparently, he had built himself a rock-cut tomb somewhere high in a hill or mountain and had paraded around in extravagant chariots. It was said that he would lose his job as servant over the palace and that Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, would take his place. Indeed, when 2 Kings chapter 18 lists the court officials of Hezekiah, it lists Eliakim as in charge of the palace and the demoted Shebna as court secretary. In the 1870s, Charles Claremont Ganneau excavated an ancient tomb carved into the rock of a cliff face that overlooked the ancient city of David. In it, he found an inscription that he sent to the British Museum, but it wasn't translated until over 80 years later. After translation and being dated to the time of Hezekiah, the inscription has almost universally been accepted as belonging to Shebna. This tomb is likely the one that got him chastised by Isaiah. But that's not all. 2 seal impressions have been found that preserve a full version of Shebna's name, Shebnayahu. The first was found at Lachish. It was labeled a mystery because it was missing a chunk that would have held Shebna's position in the royal court. But a second impression was bought in 2007 that was identified as coming from the same seal. This time, a piece of the missing word was preserved, and it identifies the owner of the seal as a servant of the king, meaning an official. So, not only do we have 2 impressions from Shebna's seal, we also have his boastful rock-cut tomb. There are so many individuals recorded within the book of Isaiah that can be identified historically. And a little bit later on in the program, you and I are going to speak about another one of those individuals that's mentioned in a very specific way in Isaiah, specifically Isaiah chapter 20, where Isaiah dates his prophecy to the year that King Sargon took the city of Ashdod. Now, Sargon wasn't a king of Judah that Isaiah was prophesying to. He wasn't a king of Israel that Isaiah had contact with. He was actually an enemy king of Assyria. So there was major world events that were going on during Isaiah's day that Isaiah was inspired to date his prophecies by some of those major world events. Now, that is very beneficial to us today because we can go back into Sargon's records, see what was going on in the world the year that he took Ashdod, and verify the Bible's details, Isaiah's details about what that looked like. And it shows up that the Bible is actually very historically accurate. Isaiah was very concerned with being accurate, and we see this repeated throughout Jewish history, throughout ancient Jewish history in particular, where even though there's theology involved, they do not feel free to invent history. Same with early Christianity, which is a topic we'll get into even more later on in the year.
One surprising thing about prophecy is the way it concerns the future. Isaiah 24 speaks of the earth wasting away from fire. Floods are no longer a threat. Burning is the problem. And when we take a look at the future from a secular viewpoint, we see the results of climate changes. Now, there are those who do not believe that there are problems because it is so political. Nevertheless, we do see things that are changing and how climate affects us and our surroundings. The earth is laid waste and the people are burned up. Now, these words are from Isaiah chapter 24. God is working towards the end of time. We must pay attention. We must come to Jesus Christ to ensure that we are saved now.
Isaiah 24, verses 1 through 13. Behold, the Lord makes the earth empty and makes it waste, distorts its surface and scatters abroad its inhabitants. And it shall be, as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the creditor, so with the debtor. The land shall be entirely emptied and utterly plundered, for the Lord has spoken this word. The earth mourns and fades away, the world languishes and fades away. The haughty people of the earth languish. The earth is also defiled under its inhabitants, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore the curse has devoured the earth, and those who dwell in it are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men are left. The new wine fails, the vine languishes, and all the merry-hearted sigh. The mirth of the tambourine ceases, the noise of the jubilant ends, the joy of the harp ceases. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink is bitter to those who drink it. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up so that none may go in. There is a cry for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city desolation is left, and the gate is stricken with destruction. When it shall be thus in the midst of the land among the people, it shall be like the shaking of an olive tree, like the gleaning of grapes when the vintage is done. Isaiah chapter 24, verses 1 through 13.
Again, we continue to teach through the book of Isaiah. This is amazing. And you've just heard it read by Janice. And Isaiah is a fascinating prophet, I want to tell you. And it's great to study him. And as we do so, we're learning a lot about what God says through time. Back in the early time, in the time now, and in the time future. Isaiah deals with all of that. And we need to express that, and we'll do that in just a moment. But remember, you can get the Bible guide and study with us if you want to. I encourage you to do so because you're missing if you don't. You simply write to us in the U.S., the U.S. address, and in Canada, the Canadian address, and in other parts of the world, write to the Canadian address. We love hearing from the folks overseas, especially in South Africa and also in Europe. And so write to us. And you can also go to www.BibleDiscoveryTV, BibleDiscoveryTV.com. And you can get it there, make an offering in any amount. Now, in our steps of faith, we're focused on this. And this is fascinating. Again, we're studying Isaiah, and our read is 24 to 26. And this is the earth is laid waste. The earth is laid waste. Now, I know that it's really important that you hear all of this. But it's going to get better because God doesn't leave things that way. The earth is laid waste, Isaiah 24 to 26, and our looking is at Isaiah 24, 1 to 13, which Janice has already read for you. And as we study this, I want to remind you that God is dealing with sin, and this earth is under the sin curse. There will come a time when sin will be no more. And that's a better time for all of us. But there's some things that have to happen first, and God is working on that right now. But let's go back to the time of Isaiah and look at this and see what God is saying. It says in Isaiah 24, verse 1, "Behold, the Lord makes the earth empty and makes it a waste, distorts its surface, and scatters abroad its inhabitants. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, and as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the creditor, so with the debtor. The land shall be entirely emptied, entirely and utterly plundered. For the Lord has spoken this word." Now, I find that absolutely fascinating. You see, the earth's people will bear the consequence of who they choose as God. We must come to our Lord and confess to Him our need. That is what God is saying here. He speaks to all of time, past, present, and future. And He says the Lord is going to lay the earth bare. And so when we recognize that, and there's nothing we can do with all of our missiles and everything, we cannot fare off God because God is the Lord of the universe. We can't do that. And we have to understand that God is the one who will save us if we come to Him and if we choose Him. And believers know that. They understand that. That's why we have a new body. And when we are taken from this life and death grabs us, Jesus Christ is there with us. And He doesn't take, it's really Jesus who grabs us. Death is over here. And Jesus takes us and gets us ready to receive our new body. That's very important as we study the eschatology of this. Isaiah chapter 24, verses 4 to 10. Listen carefully. "The earth mourns and fades away. And the world languishes and fades away. And the haughty people of the earth languish. And the earth is also defiled under its inhabitants because they have transgressed the laws. They changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore, the curse has devoured the earth, and those who dwell in it are desolate. Therefore, the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men are left." Look at that. The inhabitants of the earth are burned. Few men are left. And the new wine fails, and the vine languishes. All the merry-hearted sigh, and the myrrh of the tambourine ceases, and the noise of the jubilant ends, and the joy of the harp ceases. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink is bitter to those who drink it. And the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up so that none may go in. This is absolutely fascinating. You see, the earth is destroyed, beloved. It's destroyed because we broke God's law. Mankind is to blame. And this is the point that we're trying to say here. We're trying to explain that mankind is not right because it's under the curse of sin. So when we come to Jesus Christ and we say, Lord, forgive me of my sin, not his sin, not their sin, not everybody else's sin, my sin. And that's very important. And come into my heart and be my Lord and help me. Then things change. Things change drastically. Very important. And then verses 11 through 13, there is a cry for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened, and the myrrh of the land is gone. And in the city, desolation is left, and the gate is stricken with destruction. And when it shall be, thus in the midst of the land among the people, it shall be like the shaking of the olive tree, like the gleaning of grapes, when the vintage is done. Now, this is important. The longer we continue, the worse things get on the earth. Okay? God is coming back, and the new heaven and a new earth are coming with him, and they're being created and have been created. And it's important that we understand that the new heaven and the new earth is all in place. God has it without sin. And those of us who have given our lives to Jesus Christ, we accept him, and when this death comes, beloved, Jesus is right there with us. And then we step into his hand, and suddenly we see him like never before. And he says, it's time to go to heaven to wait for the new heaven and the new earth. Let me tell you something, that is amazing.
Isaiah chapter 20 opens in the year that King Sargon took Ashdod. It's dating a prophecy that God gave to Isaiah to a specific historic event. So let's take a look at that very event. Sargon II, king of Assyria, appears in the historical accounts of the Bible, and his endeavor for power would change Israel and Judah forever. Sargon's name means the king is legitimate, which gives further evidence to the likely truth that Sargon was actually a usurper to his brother's throne. The king that Sargon took over from was Shalmaneser V, documented in the Bible and his own records as the king who besieged Samaria, the capital city of northern Israel. Something funny happens in the Assyrian records at this point. Shalmaneser's records go quiet, and Sargon's records claim the victory of the destruction of Samaria. Likely, Sargon staged a revolt and took the throne as the destruction of Samaria was coming to a close. Sargon then takes responsibility for the deportation of Israelites. According to the Bible, all of this took place during the co-regency of King Hezekiah with his father Ahaz in the southern kingdom of Judah. At this time, there was a prominent prophet of God writing a large book in the Bible, Isaiah, son of Amoz. In the book of Isaiah, the prophet actually dates some of his prophecies according to the actions of the Assyrian kings. One such example comes from Isaiah chapter 20, verse 1, that claims Sargon was king of Assyria and sent his chief commander to the city of Ashdod to destroy it. From Sargon's records discovered at his palace complexes, we learn he did in fact take credit for capturing Ashdod. The excavation of Ashdod also verifies this in a large destruction level at the site, and the discovery of victory monuments built by Sargon and left in the conquered city. Even the detail of Sargon sending his commander into battle is verified by records that have Sargon at home during those years of battle, overseeing construction.
We just want to say thank you to our partners who've helped us all get this far and continue to do so. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot to us.
This month, we are making it possible for you to own your own copy of Ryan Hembree's Studies into Space, a DVD collection of over 30 of Ryan's quick study television segments. The DVD is entitled Cosmic Mysteries: Discovering a Universe by Design, Segment Library, Volume 1. In this first volume, Ryan explores astronomical discoveries from a biblical perspective. Have you ever wondered if the stars can help us understand certain events in the Bible, or how they play a part in the creation-evolution debate? Ryan has wondered and investigated. Now his studies are available on more than just the daily program. Our hope is that these segments will be an encouragement to your faith and a way for you to dig deeper into your studies of the Bible. To get your copy, call or write us with a suggested donation of $25 or more, and be sure to ask for your copy of Cosmic Mysteries: Discovering a Universe by Design.
Thank you for staying with us and being a part of the program as we go through the Bible in 1 year from Genesis to Revelation. It's very exciting. And next time on Quick Study Television, I'll be talking about the following. God will consume and eliminate any resistance. Any resistance. We'll talk about that and more next time on Quick Study Television. Right now, Ryan is here. Ryan?
Well, in Science Rocks, we've been studying bats and their incredible ability to echolocate. But this ability isn't limited to just bats. Dolphins also have this, and this makes things incredibly confusing, if you're an evolutionist. Let's study. Sonar, short for sound navigation and ranging, has been an incredibly useful technology. However, man developed this technology off of the much more sophisticated biological sonar found in both bats and dolphins. Actually, evolutionists were surprised that echolocation was found in both of these animals, since bats and dolphins are assigned to vastly divergent branches of the evolutionary tree. Indeed, and since evolutionists cannot attribute this common feature in bats and dolphins to a common ancestry, they are forced to conclude that these echolocation systems developed independently in both creatures. This is called convergence. Convergent evolution is the notion that when organisms whose ancestral paths have not recently crossed possess a similar feature, they evolve that feature independently to cope with similar challenges. The question is, however, how likely is convergence between these two species? As Dr. Elizabeth Mitchell explains, up until recently, evolutionists thought that bats and dolphins randomly evolved their facility for echolocation through different genetic processes, since the random road of genetic evolution would not tend to travel the same way twice, particularly to produce complex traits in animals of different lineages. More likely, evolutionists have assumed evolution found its way through different genetic means to achieve the same ends. However, having compared their genomes with those of other mammals, researchers found that the genetic basis of echolocation in these very different mammals is quite similar. Indeed, recently a team of evolutionists, led by biologist Stephen Rossiter, compared the genomes of 22 mammals, including 6 species of bats, some that do and some that do not echolocate, as well as the dolphin, dog, horse, cow, mouse, and human. They were surprised to find that 200 genetic similarities correlated with the ability to echolocate. So based on this analysis, what are the chances of a convergence between these two species? Physical chemist Dr. Jonathan Sarfati says that the chances of this happening are practically zero. It is just not feasible, he says. However, evolutionists cannot bear the alternative explanation, that being that God created both the bat and dolphin according to their kind, with fully functioning echolocation, as per the biblical account. Indeed, lead author of this team, Joe Parker, concludes, these results give us an idea that in some circumstances, the solutions natural selection happens upon can be similar in unrelated animals, right down to the molecular level. Molecular geneticist Dr. Georgia Perdome, in response to this dodge, says, as always, the evolutionists give credit to natural selection and mutations, which just happen to come up with the same solution in both organisms. This is completely ludicrous when you consider the sheer number of genes involved. Just as common designs are used in engines to power motorcycles, cars, and airplanes, God used a common design to allow bats and dolphins to echolocate. This conclusion, however, is simply unacceptable to the naturalist, no matter how much evidence there is for it. Actually, the problem for evolutionists is even worse because echolocating bats aren't a true group by themselves. While the mini-bat group do echolocate, the other group, called the megabats, do have some that echolocate and also have some that do not. So what does this mean for evolutionists? It means that the echolocation didn't just have to evolve twice, but 3 times, once in dolphins and twice in bats. These stacked odds really demonstrate the sheer and absolute impossibility of evolution.
Fascinating. Fascinating. The impossibility of evolution. That's amazing. Now listen, just as a matter of interest, you offered your stuff last month, and it's still available.
It is still available. So that's a DVD segment library of a collection of 30 of my previously aired Quick City television segments.
Right.
And the topic is Genesis and early history.
So this month, we're offering Ryan, he's put together a group of material from all of his pieces.
It's specifically cosmic mysteries. So it's about the stars and about space and how that all fits in.
Right for your copies today. The Bible does not speak against work on global climate changes, but how we confront these changes. First, there is no change that we can make that will prevent what is happening and what will happen. We can slow it down through long-range planning and using less of our natural resources, but the earth is destined for destruction. Knowing we are in need as inhabitants of planet Earth, we must come to Christ. No government or work of man is enough to get us out of trouble. The Bible says Jesus Christ is Lord, and He is the only one who can rescue us. We must come to Him as we are right now. Jesus Christ is the Lord, He is God, and it's true. He died on the cross 2,000 years ago. And when He died on the cross, they thought He was dead. He was gone. But He rose again miraculously in the flesh, seen by over 500 people. And then He said to them before He ascended to heaven, He said, now listen to me. Come to me, all you who are religious and heavy laden. I will give you rest. Come to Jesus now. Make Him Lord of your life, and He will change everything.